So imagine you're walking through a dense forest. A wild wolf can actually hear you long before you even know it's there. It catches your scent moving through the trees, knows exactly what direction you're heading, and honestly, might have even watched you cross a clearing, noticing that you're completely alone. It follows you quietly enough that your entire understanding of this encounter is going to begin several minutes late. And then, the wolf just leaves. Welcome to this explainer. Today we're launching into a fascinating biological investigation into a scenario that feels, well, completely wrong to our ancient survival instincts. We're going to break down exactly why that hidden wolf usually just walks away.
I mean, it's the ultimate question, right? Ask yourself, why haven't you been attacked? A great wolf is an absolute apex predator. It's easily large enough to injure a human, fast enough to catch one, and equipped with teeth specifically designed to hold on to struggling animals. I mean, wolves cooperate to take down deer, elk, moose, and even bison. These are massive, powerful creatures that make an unarmed modern person look, quite frankly, structurally unfinished. Yet millions of people have walked, camped, and worked right inside wolf country without a single scratch. So what's going on? Why do we survive these unseen encounters?
Okay, let's dive into this. The answer definitely isn't that wolves are just gentle forest puppies. And it's for sure not because humans taste bad, or we somehow have a private peace treaty with nature. No, most wild wolves avoid us because attacking a human is usually a terrible, highly calculated economic decision. You see, a wild wolf is not looking at you as a meal and choosing mercy. It is looking at you and calculating risk. So let's unpack the economics behind that calculation.
Section 1. The economics of hunting, or why predators don't get medical leave.
To really understand the wolf's choice, we have to start with the physical reality of how they survive. We kind of need to bust this Hollywood myth that a wolf pack is some unstoppable, flawless tactical unit that just picks a body on the landscape and deletes it. The truth of the wild is far more punishing. Out there, predators do not get medical leave. Biologists call wolves cooperative pursuit predators. Unlike a big cat, they completely lack retractable claws or specialized grappling forelimbs. Because they don't have those tools, they have to subdue large prey through repeated bites, group pressure, and sheer exhaustion. That means they have to constantly test their prey. And testing prey, that is incredibly dangerous. A healthy adult elk kicks hard. Moose strike with those massive long legs. Bison group together to defend their calves. Because of all this, a wolf's hunting success rate is frequently incredibly low. They are always searching for the animal whose defenses are already beginning to fail.
And that brings us to the most absolutely crucial number in a wolf's life. 1. It literally only takes one severe injury, a broken jaw from a kicking elk, a damaged leg, or a punctured abdomen, to leave a wolf entirely unable to feed. A failed hunt might just cost them some energy, but an injury costs every future hunt. So their survival depends not just on what they can kill, but on what they can kill without paying too high a price. They evaluate, they test, and they simply abandon attempts when the geometry gets bad.
Section 2. The human variable, and why we completely fail the test. So let's introduce a human being into this delicate biological calculation. By large mammal standards, we are, well, not physically impressive. We don't have horns, our skin is remarkably thin. Actually, our natural bite is pretty much only good for making dentists expensive. A lone, unarmed person is absolutely vulnerable to a determined wolf. But here is the key. We don't act like anything they are used to hunting. Normal prey operates on 4 legs and retreats in somewhat predictable ways. Humans, on the other hand, are totally alien. We stand completely upright on 2 legs and we turn to face danger. We make these direct, irregular movements and carry strange objects. We travel with dogs, we use fire, and we drive vehicles. But most importantly, wolves have learned that this strange, upright animal can cause massive damage from a distance. Think about it, a deer has never fired a warning shot, right? A moose has never returned the very next day with tracking equipment and several heavily armed relatives.
And this brilliantly illustrates our historical dynamic. Centuries ago, humans aggressively poisoned, trapped, shot, and organized massive eradication campaigns that nearly wiped wolves off the map in parts of North America and Europe. The surviving wolves didn't need to read a history book. They just needed to respond correctly to human cues to survive. The bold wolves, they were killed. The cautious ones, the ones who moved away and used cover, survived to reproduce. Today, this has resulted in a deep, inherited tendency toward extreme caution. That inherited caution is exactly why you rarely see them. Tracking research across U.S. national parks consistently proves that wolves show negative responses to human footprints. They actively avoid areas of high human influence. So distance doesn't always mean wilderness. Sometimes it just means the wolf is arriving after we leave.
You might think you've never had an encounter in wolf habitat, but often the wolf simply made the decision to avoid you long before you even stepped foot in the clearing.
Section 3. When cautious wolves attack and how the rules get broken.
Now, any explanation claiming wolves never, ever attack people is comforting, it's simple, and it's entirely false. We absolutely have to address the rare, verified attacks that do happen. Because understanding these rare exceptions highlights the crucial boundary between normal wild behavior and completely abnormal, dangerous circumstances. When researchers looked at a major review of 75 verified attacks between 2002 and 2020, they found a staggering pattern. Now, what's really interesting about this is that 44 of these cases, the vast majority, were attributed to rabid wolves. The rabies virus literally destroys a wolf's normal wariness. It attacks the nervous system to produce abnormal aggression and a total loss of fear. Historically, a single infected animal could bite multiple people in one episode. Take rabies out of the equation, and the number of predatory or defensive attacks shrinks drastically.
Let's unpack those remaining non-rabid cases. For predatory attacks, the environment plays a massive role. We're talking highly fragmented habitats with zero wild prey, where wolves are forced to survive on garbage or livestock. Targeting also forces an uncomfortable distinction. Children are heavily represented in these predatory cases. While a healthy adult human is strange and confrontational, a small child moving erratically reduces a lot of that predator uncertainty. As for defensive attacks, well, they almost always involve human actions. Things like cornering a wolf, getting way too close to a den, or, and this happens very commonly, humans intervening to save their domestic dogs, which wild wolves just view as strange, intruding competitors.
But perhaps the most preventable tragedy is food conditioning. It usually starts simple. A wolf tolerates humans from a distance. Then, humans start deliberately providing food, handouts, unsecured garbage, campsite waste. Suddenly, human sense stops predicting danger and begins predicting calories. This is the absolute clearest path to dangerous boldness. Feeding a wild wolf is not some magical connection with nature. It is a terrible long-distance decision about who gets bitten later. By the time an attack actually happens, it's often just the last event in a long sequence of really bad human training.
Section 4. Rules of Engagement and Handling Encounters.
So, knowing all of this, how do we use a wild wolf's natural risk aversion against it? If you find yourself in the incredibly rare situation where a wolf is not choosing distance, there is clear official guidance to ensure a safe outcome. If a wolf approaches or refuses to leave, these are the steps you must take. Stand upright and make yourself large. Speak or shout firmly. Back away rather than running. Actually, scratch that. Never run, because running triggers their pursuit instincts. Keep your dogs controlled and your children close. Why does this work? Because these actions plug directly into the wolf's economic calculation. By doing this, you're proving to the wolf that you are aware, you are large, you are difficult, and you are way too costly to hunt. You are simply helping them make the decision they already prefer, to leave.
Of course, acknowledging the statistics doesn't just erase human psychology. Look, fear is not a spreadsheet. A wolf attack is a vivid, ancient story involving darkness, teeth, and that really unsettling reminder that humans can still become meat. That fear occupies so much more of our imagination than boring, everyday risks like car crashes or falling off a ladder. And you know what? That's okay. The correct response to a wolf isn't fairy tale panic, but it's also definitely not social media confidence that they're harmless little puppies. The correct response is absolute respect for a powerful wild animal, and respect for the rarity of the danger.
To wrap up our explainer today, the absolute crucial point is this. The wolf leaves not because you are physically stronger. Trust me, you aren't. It leaves because you are complicated. You are upright. You're unpredictable. You're socially connected, and historically, you are lethal. The biological cost of a failed hunt is simply too high, and to a wolf, you are just way too risky a bet. Which leaves us with this final thought. Armed with this new, educated respect for the calculating survivor hidden in the trees, how will you feel the next time you walk into the wilderness? Will you realize who is already watching you, evaluating the risk, and deciding to let you pass in silence? Thanks for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning and stay curious.